Hey there, it's Stephanie Shea, the astrologer for janspiller.com, and I'm here with your May 2025 astrological overview. We're finally moving forward after getting out of a lot of inner planet retrogrades that dominated the first part of the year. Venus finally went direct in April. So here we are in May. I think we're going to start to show the results of some subtle shifts that began taking place as we started the new year, but it was just very slow energy. Now that there's a forward momentum in our daily lives, we'll feel some satisfaction of progress towards new goals that have really been a long time coming. We've got Saturn, the planet of structure and consistent effort, being a major player this month. It's combining energy with both Jupiter and Uranus, and Saturn is moving into the sign of Aries on May 24th, offering lessons regarding asserting ourselves and sticking to our commitments. I'd say in general, ambition is supported throughout the month, but we're going to need to pace ourselves and be aware of the reality of our current position. A perfect balance of practicality and a willingness to believe in our capability to create best case scenarios will be needed to maximize May's astrology. We've got a full moon on May 12th that could offer eye-opening revelations that help us to understand exactly what we're facing. And we're going to have the ability to deal with others in a more honest way and decide the best use of our personal power. The new moon in Gemini on May 26 offers support for new beginnings that involve improving our communication and people skills. The big headline this month is Pluto stationing retrograde on May the 4th. That initiates a cycle that will last until October 13th of this year. Now, we don't feel Pluto retrograde cycles in the same way that we experience the disruptions of inner planet retrogrades in our daily lives. Outer planets, such as Pluto, have a more subtle effect that can be slowly recognized over time. So let's think about this. Pluto rules power. And when this planet's retrograde, we're summoned to access our inner strength. Often we don't have the option to be rescued by somebody else when Pluto is retrograde. Instead, we're guided towards solutions that require us to step up and claim responsibility. However, Pluto in the community-oriented sign of Aquarius, I think there is a chance that once we take steps on our own behalf, we could be met with the support of others. If we look at this on a global scale, Pluto retrograde in Aquarius could signal the need for people to make change happen rather than relying on authority figures. The coming months could be a time period where we see people coming together to create positive change and realize their own power in situations where they had initially felt helpless. Now we've got Jupiter and Saturn working together in what's called a square. This is kind of a tense aspect. It's been present much of this year and it's really heating up in May. Squares in astrology often bring out the more extreme energies present in the planets involved. So let's look at each planet. We've got Saturn ruling rules and limitation. Jupiter is the planet of freedom and expansion. It's kind of easy to see how societal problems could be exacerbated under this astrology. Worldwide, those in power may attempt to place more laws and restrictions on society, and there will likely be a palpable backlash from those wishing for more personal rights and liberties. In our own lives, we'll be examining where we've been placing limitations on ourselves. And in some cases, there could be some really good reasons for restraint and an orderly approach. However, we might discover that some of our progress has been stalled out due to fear and irrational limiting beliefs. This square between Jupiter and Saturn will help us learn to navigate new opportunities with more confidence and faith in the universe if we allow ourselves to see what we can realistically accomplish. So I think there's this fine line here between pessimism and overly idealistic thinking. So for the best results, step back, determine what is within your power to change. Once we have a clear picture of our personal boundaries with others, the path to our growth is going to become more evident. Then we'll feel more free and ready to take the next steps. There's a lot of subtle energies at play this month. Now, let's see what Saturn and Uranus are doing. They are actually in a favorable aspect called a sextile. They're unlikely teammates, but they can help us determine where we need to shake up our routines and take calculated risks in order to achieve a dream. These planets operate quite differently. Saturn demands discipline and consistency. Uranus wakes up to possibilities that we couldn't even imagine. It really doesn't want to be stuck in a rut. So we can take advantage of the combined forces of these powerful planets to challenge ourselves in new ways. And I think on a global scale, this astrology could temper some of the more volatile energies at play. We may see surprising turns that involve people coming together and creating change in a positive way. Personally, I think it's a wake-up call, helping us to take charge of our lives and put more focus on a long-term goal. Now, on the 24th, as I mentioned, Saturn is entering Aries for the first time since 1999. It's going to remain in this sign through August 31st of this year before it retrogrades back into Pisces for the rest of the year. Then Saturn will enter Aries for a longer stay on February 13th, 2026, where it's going to remain through April 12th, 2028, just for reference. So this year, between May 24th and August 31st, is what I like to call the sneak preview. What is this Saturn and Aries energy that's coming next year all about? Well, I think we're going to see that pioneering energy of Aries show up in our systems and structures. This is a favorable time period for entrepreneurs, anyone who's blazing new trails in leadership. This is combining these Saturn, Uranus, and Aries themes. I think worldwide, Saturn and Aries can bring out some combative and competitive energies between governments. Even in this favorable aspect, we could see conflicts escalate and the general population may organize in order to stand up for their individual freedom. Aries is so much about individuality. Uranus is planet of freedom. It's called the Great Liberator. So these themes are up right now. Saturn is bringing lessons in patience, and we may need to exercise control in our personal lives if we wish to reach a long-term goal. It's important to be especially careful with our physical well-being under this astrology, as we may feel compelled to push our body beyond its limits. It's great to be fired up and motivated about a new fitness plan, for example, but keep in mind you're looking for something that is sustainable long term. Now, I think that some hidden information could come to light at this full moon on May the 12th. It's at 22 degrees of Scorpio. Each month, the full moon provides an opportunity to see our lives with greater clarity. So, with the moon in the insightful sign of Scorpio, I think something hidden might come to light both on the world stage and in our personal lives. Scorpio is a sign that rules power, intimate partnership, other people's money, secrets, death, and rebirth. It's quite common for concealed truths to emerge at the Scorpio full moon. So I'm curious what's going to surface. On the world stage, maybe there'll be the exposure of criminal or immoral activity by people in power. Scorpio is power. In our personal lives, we may uncover information we had hoped wasn't true, but at least we'll know exactly what we're dealing with. I think Scorpio full moon is the ultimate reality check. It can help us get a handle on our debts and money owed to us. This can also be a positive time for those who've been working towards psychological healing or greater emotional understanding in an intimate partnership. Shared business ventures could also pay off around this time. Now let's look at the inner planets quickly. As May begins, Mercury is in Aries, encouraging direct communication and decisive action. Plan to move quickly on your ideas during the days between May 1st and 9th. On May 10th, Mercury enters Taurus, where it will remain through May 24th. During this time period, we're going to be supported to work more slowly and methodically. Don't rush your processes during these days. Follow through with commitments, focus on tasks that require a thorough approach. May 25th, Mercury will enter Gemini, where it will remain until June 8th. These are going to be high-powered days for any type of communication, so you may want to consider meetings, writing, verbal presentations during this time period. You're likely to enjoy a flow of new ideas. It could be helpful to take frequent breaks during the day while Mercury is in Gemini to stay grounded and focused. We're more likely to get distracted, but it can be quite an inspiring time. Now we've got Venus, the planet of love, moving through Aries all month. Aries is not the most comfortable placement for Venus, and we could feel an underlying impatience with this energy. The best use of Venus in Aries is to follow our passion. Venus rules what gives us pleasure, and Aries represents our passion and ambition. So I think this is an awesome month for personal projects and pursuing goals that bring us joy. Focus on projects that don't require a lot of coordination with others. We're going to do well to rely on our own energy and resources for success. Physical activity will be favored. So even though I said be careful not to overdo it because of Saturn in Aries working with Uranus right now, just keep in mind that your favorite form of exercise and enjoying moving your body is supported. Mars is going to travel through the sign of Leo throughout May. Mars rules our passion, ambition. It expresses itself quite boldly in Leo. We're supported to put ourselves out there and go for it, whether we're seeking new work opportunities, romance, or avenues for our creative expression. It's really a go for it month. Use power of Mars and Leo to summon your courage and ability to act and speak from the heart. Mars is actually staying in Leo until June 17th, creating a playful mood. So you may want to consider planning activities with loved ones, vacations, time with children, sports, or any other recreational activities are especially supported. There's generally cheerful vibes while Mars is traveling through the sign of Leo, but there can be a tendency for people to act with their own interests in mind without considering others. So we'll all be wise to make an extra effort to be inclusive in our actions and decision making. May's new moon is on the 26th. It's at 6 degrees of Gemini. If you were born on or around May 26th of any year, you're in store for some big new beginnings in the year ahead. Everybody can maximize the power of this Gemini new moon to set intentions in the areas ruled by Gemini. A lot of this comes from Jan Spiller's awesome book, New Moon Astrology. Highly recommend it. So, Gemini areas are writing, speaking, mental rapport, understanding different points of view, debate, sales, social skills. It goes on and on. If you're trying to get better at talking to new people, at asking the right questions, at using your logical mind, this is your new moon to set the intentions about these topics. So I encourage you to experiment with new moon intentions if you've never done them. They can be a very powerful way to manifest what you want in your life. And as I mentioned, Jan's book, New Moon Astrology, is a great way to get started with that. So I hope that you can make the most of this month's astrology. I look forward to giving your forecast for June. Have a good month of May.